week, the latest Star Wars project, Star Wars Visions, debuts on Disney+. So let's talk about it. Star Wars Visions is a collection of 9 anime short films set in the Star Wars universe. Now, I'm not really a big fan of anime, but obviously I'm a lifelong fan of Star Wars, so I was curious how this project might resonate with me. Before I let you know what I thought about it, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought about it. Also, let me know if you're interested in this project or if anime just isn't your thing, or if you're a Star Wars fan and an anime fan, is this like a dream come true for you? Let me know down below in the comments, and let's get started with the good. And probably the best thing about Star Wars Visions is that it is telling a bunch of different types of stories inside of the Star Wars universe. Some of them are set way before the Phantom Menace, some of them are set way after Rise of Skywalker, others are set all throughout the Skywalker saga, but it's exploring different types of characters in different settings rather than all of them being about the rebellion trying to tear down the Empire. Sometimes you do have familiar faces and the Empire does make some appearances, but it's all handled from a different perspective than the way the movies tend to explore this universe. And that just allows you to kind of go into the villages, see how different groups of people are responding to all these things taking place. You get to spend time with a Jedi and his Padawan before the return of the Sith and the rebellion. You get to see glimpses of what Star Wars looks like after the Skywalker saga. What's the aftermath of everything that's happened? And they're just these little glimpses, little visions of the Star Wars universe from different points of view. If you're familiar at all with the history of Star Wars, you're well aware that George Lucas was heavily inspired by Akira Kurosawa's samurai films, and a lot of those inspirations are put very overtly on display here, where it's no longer just influences. There's like straight up samurai stories, except in the Star Wars universe. Other ones are very kiddie in nature. Others are about families being torn. Some are very familiar. Some are very distant from what we've experienced in Star Wars before. Others have a lot of commonality with tales we've kind of seen, but they're just like these isolated little stories. There's a little bit of everything in there. One of the big criticisms that I've had of Disney Star Wars is that they keep going back to the same time period and exploring the same characters, following the same story structures, and this kind of throws that all out. It is going to new places, telling new stories with new characters, and dramatically expanding the mythology with some of the stories that are told here. Now, I personally, I'm not a big anime fan, so I'm probably not the right person to kind of go into the animation styles and discuss the different influences. That's just simply not really my thing, but each of the stories has a different style. The first one in the set that critics were given is in black and white, except for certain lights, and it's designed to look like a 1950s samurai film, except it's animated. Other ones are very cartoonish and bright. I mean, it's the full spectrum of Japanese animation, and so every story really does feel like a new creator's vision for this world. And finally, it's just interesting to see the world of Star Wars through the eyes of different creators and what they focus on, what they emphasize, which rules they follow, which ones they seem to want to bend to fit their vision for Star Wars. And so you truly are seeing 9 different visions of what the Star Wars universe can be. From there, let's move on to the bad. The first thing that comes to mind here is when you do a project like this with 9 different people trying to bring their vision of Star Wars to the world, you're gonna have varying degrees of success, and they're going to appeal to different people in different ways. So like for me, it really did kind of break down to about a third of them. I thought, that's actually a pretty cool little Star Wars story that expands the universe in interesting ways. A third of them, I was like, I don't think I like that at all. I don't think that fits in Star Wars. And then a third of them are kind of in the middle of like, that was kind of cool, kind of interesting, and kind of really weird. When I watched it, it was with my whole family, and after each segment, we paused to kind of discuss the short film and do our rankings as we went along. And we had almost no overlap in our rankings. All of us resonated with different stories. All of us had a different favorite. All of us had a different least favorite. And that's kind of cool. but it also kind of goes to the nature of this project. It's going to resonate differently with different people. Second thing that comes to mind here, while these stories take place all over the Star Wars timeline and all over the Star Wars universe in very different contexts with very different types of characters, almost all of them end with a lightsaber duel. In which case, the stories start to overlap just a little bit. The setup is different, but the payoff and resolution kind of ends up in the exact same place. For that reason, I would recommend probably not binging them all in one session like I did. Spread it out over a couple of days so you can process them and notice the distinctives. When you just watch them all together, they really do kind of start to blend together at a certain point in time. And it's just really disappointing when you have the entire Star Wars universe, all the Star Wars technology, and then 7 or 8 of your 9 stories all end with people fighting with lightsabers. It just feels like we could have had more variety in where all of these stories end up. And finally, there's some things that happen in some of these stories that I'm just not sure how it fits with the mythology of Star Wars as we know it. There's characters having battles in space without space suits. There's Force users that have powers that I don't think we've seen established previously. And so it very much is an expansion in a way that I don't think it's meaningful to the grander mythology. It's just stories that are officially licensed by Lucasfilm, but they play a little bit like fan fiction in many ways, and they kind of seem inconsequential. It doesn't feel like any of these stories are giving us important piece of information that we need for the future of Star Wars. They're not laying the foundation for anything. They're just tales at different points in time, in different planets, from a different perspective, and that's fun to see. There's some novelty to it. Some of them are very cool, some of them not so cool, at least from my perspective, but none of it builds to anything that matters in terms of the greater Star Wars universe. In which case, if you're a big Star Wars fan, especially if you're a Star Wars fan and an anime fan, it's a nice little treat. But it's not something urgent that you have to go out and rush to watch. Real quick before I give you my final thoughts on this one, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about it or your anticipation level for it. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I have discussed all of the Star Wars movies in detail. You can check that out in these playlists right up here wherever they are at. All in all, I appreciate that Lucasfilm did something different, told some stories at different points in time in the Star Wars universe that don't rely on the exact same characters, but I wish the stories had ended up having more variety in how they paid off and had a bit more significance to the Star Wars universe as a whole. In general, I will recommend that Star Wars fans check this one out, though don't binge it all in one sitting like I did, especially if you're an anime fan. But general Star Wars fans, if you're not like a diehard, this probably isn't something you need to rush out to go see. Remember to join me down below in the comment section to let me know what you thought about it. If you want more Star Wars content from me, check out that stuff right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.